Hi, I'm Dawn. I'm alcoholic. Can you hear me?
This meeting is being recorded.
Can you see me? Amen. So I say that very trepidly because when I'm in North Carolina, it is spotty as can be. And the last time I talked to this group of people, I was in Richmond, Virginia, and it should have been clear as day, and it was not, although it did prompt me to get my internet serviced in Virginia. However, I am in Mississippi. So it's a broad spectrum. Again, I'm Dawn. I'm alcoholic. My sobriety date is September the 20th of 1990. Um, I love being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Um, I hear people say they're an active member, and that just doesn't fit the bill for me. I love being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's a blessing to be with y'all tonight. I have some real experience to share with you from my week gone past. In regard to, we come to rely on it, but I have to tell you very, very swiftly, will I get a note telling me I got 5 minutes? Awesome. I don't want to run over, and I don't want to have to keep time, and I can wrap it up pretty quick. So um, I got sober at 25 years old. I had been drinking alcoholically since I was 12. By that, I mean that when I could drink, I drank as much as I could. And the last 5 years of my drinking, I drank all the time. As a matter of fact, they asked me, I was in the hospital a few days ago, and they asked me, did I drink? Because it appears that I still have evidence that that is true about me. So 32-ish years later, my pancreas is still saying this lady drinks. So I can tell you clearly what I was doing in that time. I did tell the doctor I drank enough in my early days to accommodate a lifetime, probably for 3 people. The thing that I always try to talk about when I talk about my story are a couple things. I grew up in an alcoholic family. That informed the beginning of my drinking. It informed the intensity of how quickly I took off to the races. I am a believer that we have a family disease as well, and that by the time I picked up a drink, I was already 12 years advanced into alcoholism. So that's very relevant for me in terms of unmanageability. I was unmanageable from the start of my drinking. I didn't grow into it. It was immediate. So as a result of that, I went through a lot of trials. I'm not going to talk about them at length. What I will talk about, and what I always talk about, is what alcohol did for me. What it did for me was it buffered the story of my life. And it made it so that I could move from one situation to the next without having to feel much, and very capable of doing what I needed to do to push through whatever was happening in front of me. So I got buffered feelings and liquid courage, and it really did a lot for me. My best friend was alcohol, absolutely. It carried me where I wanted to go, and it was my favorite companion. So that was true right up until about 2 years before I stopped drinking. And the last 2 years of my drinking, it stopped buffering the pain of my existence. And I couldn't manage to do much of anything because I was too inebriated to make a good decision to move forward in my life. And people say it stopped working for them. I basically think I wore out alcohol's welcome in my world. And fortunately, I got to y'all just in time to not, even at 25 years old, which was young then, coming into Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not so young now, but then it was kind of young. I knew that when it talks in the section about those who stopped in time, it talks about the bottom came up to hit them, and I could see the bottom coming up to hit me. And I intuitively knew, and we're going to start using that word. I intuitively knew that something had happened. I did not like it. I did not like the idea of living without alcohol because I had no skills to live without alcohol. So it was very scary to me to be sober. I did not believe that life sober was a good idea. I thought it was a really bad idea, but I'd run out of ideas that were working for me. So I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. I was belligerent. I was, when it talks about, of the blankety blankety blank variety, I am of the willful variety. I'm the girl that thinks she ought to get it done. I am type A++. And when you come into AA like that, the idea of surrender wasn't at the top of my list. So it took me a while to really absorb what was going on here. So sorry, I just switched my camera view. I say that to say that I'm very attuned to the fact that it's been a very long, adventurous journey for me to say that I love being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. It was a long journey for me through that. Early on in my recovery, I knew I was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I did a lot of service in Alcoholics Anonymous. I dotted the I's and crossed the T's for quite a few meetings and districts. And that was pretty much how I was able to navigate my recovery. And being young and hanging out quite a bit, that was helpful because I was surrounded by a youthful and engaged fellowship. And I kind of took the God stuff as a necessary thing that people talked about, and I wasn't going to, push back too hard on what they had to say about it. It didn't really apply to me, but it's good for those people that really need it. That's good. That's great for them. It did not apply to me. And I spent probably a solid 5 years in that frame, hanging out, enjoying life, not drinking, doing service, and enjoying 2 of the 3 legacies. And it was enough for me at the time. And I think that it really was enough for me. It really was. And I think what happened, I believe that over any period of time, our alcoholism progresses, whether we are drinking or not. And it got to the point where it was no longer enough for me. And at about 5 years sober, I ran slam into dawn. And I really was saying that if this is as good as it gets, I'm out. I'm going to, at 4.5 years, I said, if it doesn't get better by the time I'm 5 years sober, I'm going to pick up my 5-year medallion and I'm out of here. And I meant it. And I thought, that was pretty much my truth. I was going to go for it. And fortunately, God saw it sufficient to drag me along the bottom of the ocean during that 6-month period. And by the time I got to my 5-year birthday, I turned myself in for a new sponsor, a new big book, a new God, and a new experience. I say that to say that that has happened to me a few times over. I've been able to have a new experience in Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I am in AA, because I was in AA to the extent I needed to be in AA. I still had, even at 5 years sober, the bottom came up to meet me and it escorted me to the next frontier of my recovery. I went on to go through quite a few things, a lot. I've had a lot of life experience in Alcoholics Anonymous, and without AA, I would have no life, nor would my daughters, nor would my grandchildren. I have grandchildren. By the way, part of my story is I had children when I was 15 and 17. So, I do not look the part, but it is true, or I hope I don't look the part. Anyway, so my whole family has benefited from this fellowship, and for that I am also grateful. So one really, I'm just going to move on. I'm going to jump forward. I'm going to jump from 5 years to 25 years. Let me tell you what, in that 20-year period, a lot of stuff happened. I had 2 marriages. I went to graduate school. I affirmed a relationship with God. I was introduced to Fellowship of the Spirit and sat down the 3rd time and handed a big book and said, "You don't know nothing about nothing. So have a seat and let me tell you what this program is really about." And I was able to absorb that again and have a new experience in AA. But at 25 years sober, something really significant happened to me. And some of you have heard about it. Some people in this room know about it. I shared about it the last time I was sharing with this group, that my husband passed away unexpectedly. And I don't say that lightly. It's been 7 years now, so I'm not, crawling on the floor crying every day like I was for almost 2 years. The reason I talk about it so much is, our beliefs are limited, but my experience is limitless. I can tell you what I know, but if I tell you how I came to rely on God as the only source of comfort in my life, you're going to get a better understanding of your experience, because my experience is limitless to you. Just like your experience is limitless to me. I can read the book by myself. I can do all these things by myself, but without another person telling me their story, it is pretty much pointless. So my story at that point is, my husband passed away. It was 25 days before Christmas. And I was literally brought to my knees. And with 25 years sober, thinking that I had arrived, I always identify with Bill saying, "And I had arrived." I always identify with that line. I've arrived, I don't know how many times. And about the time I think I've arrived, I get, boom, toppled. But I surrendered in a way that is unknowable to me. And when she was reading the spiritual experience, what I keyed in on is that unsuspected inner resource. And that unsuspected inner resource showed up for me, and I literally, I'm not exaggerating, could physically feel the Spirit of God stirring in my body. I say that with the intention of having it understood that I was in such desperate need of relief from the pain I was experiencing emotionally, that God literally showed up and stirred my heart, which is why I can tell you today, I love being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, because y'all brought that to me. Y'all gave that to me. There was nothing that could have fostered me into that level of awareness of an inner resource than AA. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. I was able during that period to see, hear, taste the presence of a loving God in my existence. I was also able to have sponsorship, which I know was divinely driven for me to get to the sponsor that I had. If I look at it in hindsight, there's every now and then when the veil separates and you can see that you are exactly where you were supposed to be, preemptive, so that the shit that was coming down the pipe was going to not knock you completely out of the water. So I was able to have this woman who was a grief counselor. Y'all seen her in here, Mary. I think she was here last week, if I'm not mistaken, to talk to y'all. And she was my sponsor, and she nourished me, literally nourished me to the foot of a cross that saved my life. She said to me when this happened, she said, "Now I know why I'm sponsoring you." And I had no idea what she was talking about. She said, "Dawn, I'm a grief counselor." And I said, "Oh." okay. I didn't even understand what she was talking about, but she walked me out of that forest, and I was deep in it. I did not drink. I say that because it was on the table. And that's the reason why I talk about that experience, because I came so close to taking a drink. I had a crazy idea that if I just did heroin, I would be okay, because then I would just die quickly, hopefully, instead of dying, sloppily drunk in the middle of the floor in my home. So I thought, for me, being alcoholic, the answer I came up with was die from an overdose. I mean, that's the kind of solution I had. So this woman walked me out of that dark, dark place. The beauty of that, she told me, she said this to me. She said, one day you're going to understand why living through this experience is beneficial to you. She said that to me maybe, I don't know, 3 months after this happened. And I scoffed. No, I want my husband back. I don't care about God. I want John, which was my husband's name. But still, I believe that, somehow she seems to know what she's talking about. So I'll just believe that she's right. Well, I can inform you today that I am not grateful for my husband dying, but I am absolutely grateful for the experience I had walking through the pain of that and understanding the connection and the necessity of my relationship with God, period. So as I breach into the current situation, I have a God that operates in my life every day. I believe that every day is a day when I must carry a visions of God's will into all of my activities. Am I good at it? No, I'm miserably bad at it. I'm self-centered. I'm still type AA, and it doesn't. I mean, I run willy-nilly right into myself, but my road to recovery is paved with that intention. I intend for God to be the answer to my day. So I'm going to say this. Last week, I talked, I don't know, I probably texted Allie because I was traveling around being type AA, and I'd run off from North Carolina, gone up to Virginia, going to go up there, do some things, run down. Now I'm going to run down to Tampa, Florida. I don't know whether y'all know, this is a big loop-de-loop that I'm talking about. So, all right, I'm on the go. All right, now I got Mary in the van. We're rolling. And Ollie, I was like, oh, that's right, 11th step, and Ollie wants to know a topic. So I'm riding around with Mary, and I think it was probably the 15th. I could look at my text, but it was shortly before my life went kerflooey. And I said, I know it was the day before because we were in the van. Me and Mary were riding along, and I said, Mary, Allie wants me to do this meeting, and he asked for a topic, and I think we come to rely on it. What do you think? She said, that's good, because it leaves room, a lot to talk about, talks about in the process, we come to rely on it, not we suddenly rely on it. It's a growing process we come to with it, which I reckon that to second step, I come to with it. I come to. She's great. The next day, we had a rough day. To start the day, we had a tire blowout in the middle of an interstate, and it was a severe blowout. Now, I drive a pretty big vehicle, so it was a little scary. So we're out on the highway getting this thing done, and the man comes and he sets up the safety place, and he said, he's Florida Department of Transportation, and he sets up these big flashing lights. And I was like, oh, thank God, because we are like sitting ducks to be slammed into by something. I run back there and I tell him, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. It was scary. He says, ma'am, if you could have broken down anywhere in this area, you broke down in the safest place. And I went, really? He said, yeah, because you're right here. And he explained it to me, there's all the reasons why the lanes change right here. And everybody's going slower here. And they're more aware because people are coming and going. And I went, oh. So I go back up and tell Mary, who's a spiritual giant. I don't know whether y'all notice. I'm like inferior. And I'm like, way down here compared to Mary. She's like, oh, Dawn, let's just chill out. I'm like, Mary, we're sitting by the highway. This is where people get killed. Have you watched YouTube? So, but anyway, I was assured that these people were going to stay there with us. And they got us off the highway. We were 2 miles from a car lot that had a replacement tire for me. Now, you think that's a simple thing to say, but I have specialty tires that take months to come in. 2 miles, and there's one there. So I'm starting to think, yeah, this is not very coincidental. This is really weird. And, we get back on we're there and I'm waiting, doing the thing. I don't get in a hurry much anymore. I don't do that. I don't force my will too much. We're tooling along and going to get some gas. I pull over to get some gas because we got a couple miles. Mary, my job at this point is to taxi Mary to a speaking engagement that she had. We got 90 minutes to get there. I pull over to get gas and, I do that. I get up into my car. I literally had vertigo so bad that within minutes I was projectile vomiting, and they carried me out of the parking lot of this gas station in an ambulance. So now that's a dramatic story, but the real story in this drama is what's going on inside of me during this. And what I'm experiencing inwardly, which is the most relevant thing to me, because I don't need a drink because of what happens outside of me. I need a drink because of what happens inside of me. So, I need a drink when life has become so much that I need relief from the way life is dealing me. So what's going on inside of me is I am having a experience that is of the world of the spirit. And I'm hearing. Now, I want y'all to know, I do my 11th step every day. I would not approach a day without asking God to direct my thinking, especially that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest and self-seeking motives, for the purpose of getting my thought life on a higher plane. Because I'm a low plane person. Like, I'm lower plane by myself. So every day I know I need to be higher planed. So that is the first thing I do every day. And if possible, when I'm in my van, I can't hit my knees. There's not enough room to get on your knees. But if possible, I get on my knees and say that prayer because I know how desperately I need to have my brain be on a higher plane. Because when it's not, everything happens to me, not just life or for me. And I'm a victim of life, and it throws me around, and I need a drink because of it. So I'm in this ambulance. I'm bouncing around in the ambulance. And what is shooting through my mind over, and I mean, it must have shot through my head 50 times in this ambulance ride, was be still and know that I am God. 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 And I calmed down. I was so cold. I was literally shaking in my body because it had rained on me and I was freezing. But be still and know that I am God. And I knew that unsuspected inner resource was talking to me and saying to me, I'm here. So I'm like, okay, all right. Now, I do want y'all to know I was dry heaving. Everything else was going on at the same time. There's a lot happening here. But most thing that was happening was be still and know that I'm God. They get me through all this process. And They get me into the bed. I had to go upstairs. I am, and eventually got escalated to a resident situation. And I was able to sleep through the night. I woke up. I realized where I was. Be still and know that I am God. Okay. I said, God, please direct my thinking. I need help. This is some shit here. And I went to sleep. I, just laid there, and I kept hearing this, be still and know that I'm God. So I was calm. And that happened. So I got through that little bit of time there. I think the second day I got up, I was determined that I was getting out of this bed because I was starting to get sore. And I walked over. I got myself into the bathroom. I snuck out, again, type AA. I snuck out of the bed. I got over to the bathroom. I got myself cleaned up from all the shenanigans that had been going on. I walked around the bed and I sat down in a place and I said, I just need to do my meditation. I had my phone. I was getting ready to do the 11th step on my, I don't know if y'all know, on Insight Timer, there's On Awakening and When We Retire at Night. It is absolutely, they read the big book for you. I didn't have my book with me. I sat down. I opened my eyes. I looked up on the wall. There was a cross and I just started weeping, knowing that it was not a mistake or a coincidence that I picked that spot to sit in. Like, okay, I'm here. So I say all this to tell y'all that it's, my faith has to work in my life. It cannot be theoretical. It has to be something that is happening right here, right now, on board, on the go. So this morning, well, yesterday morning, I got up, I relocated to the hotel because I got out of the hospital, and I was able, just so you know, there's the lady on here from Mississippi showed up. It is not a coincidence. Again, God, that unsuspected inner resource, is saying, I'm going to send you a nurse in Jackson, Mississippi, who knows how to handle you and who's had vertigo. Well, holy, it's all these things are piling up for me to know God is with me. Because I don't know about y'all, but one of my biggest things that I went through during my process of discovering a relationship with a best friend that is with me was, you left me when I was a kid. Where were you when I was a kid? And that was a huge barrier to my experience. So the idea of knowing that God is there with me and for me is very important to me. So yesterday morning, I woke up, I'm in the room. Everybody wants to fix me now, just so you know. AA shows up. So everybody wants to fix me. I got the phones, ding, ding, ding. This thing has gone absolutely nuts this week. And I'm like, I can't, I'm still trying to figure out if I can stand up, But I will tell you that I have been offered 2 flights, a train ride. People have offered to come, and I believe they will actually do this. So anyway, but yesterday morning I was like, God, I don't know what to do. I sat down in silence and I said, I don't know what to do. And something said, now I knew that this was not my thought. You know how when we are in meditation, we'll get these voices that are God's trying to communicate with us, but I dismiss it as that was probably just me thinking. I have never thought, don't drink anything. That has never been a part of my experience. I knew that was God. So I got up, I dumped the coffee in the sink, and I said, okay, I won't drink the coffee. And today's the day of rest. This morning, I will read to you what it says. It says, Dear God, because I write a Dear God letter each morning. Dear God, I feel scared. Please be with me. Please help me feel safe and not alone. And then what popped into my head was, we come to rely on it. Isn't it wonderful? It was like uncanny. I was like, oh, that's today. That's right. And then I got very specific direction. Take a walk. I am with you. I am you. Add another night on the hotel stay. Ask for the right thought or action when you're agitated or doubtful. I took the direction. And the reason I took the direction, I immediately added another night on the hotel. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I'm supposed to stay here till Friday. I'm not sure why. I mean, I want to go. I want to get out of here. I'm also a little scared to drive. So I kind of I'm torn, but I'll push through it. I'll push through it. Good alcoholic that I am, I will push through. So anyway, I added the next night. I went out for a walk today. I didn't take the medication that I'm taking because it makes drowsy, and I feel okay. All that said, I know I have at least 5 minutes. So that's my story. That's my story. That's a story of faith. It's your faith, by the way. It's not mine. It's not my faith. It's y'all's faith. You led me to a God that lives inside of me, that guides me, keeps me between the ditches. I am very clear that my guardrails are the guardrails of a loving God that is within me. I will talk about that for a moment. When my husband passed, I had a God that was outside, that was grace, that was outside and acted on my life. And I knew that that had happened to me. And it had happened to me multiple times when I had probably should have gone the other way, and everything just shifted in a way that I wouldn't have picked. So I knew about a graceful God that was outside of me. I was very clear that that was real. And you couldn't tell me any different. I had people try to save me, lay hands, do all this. Nah, I don't need it. I know that God has got his eye on me because of what happened to me. When my husband passed, I got a God that lived within, that was close enough for me to say, hey, what's up? Why this? What's going on? I don't get it. Please give me something, even, I'm going to go ahead and say it, a dingy bitch like me can understand. Please help. I need to know. I need clear-cut direction. And I get it when I ask. One of the things I asked for today was not to feel so alone. I got a phone call from a friend in Pensacola, Florida, and he said to me, I just want you to know you're not alone. That was the first thing he said to me. I knew it was God calling. I knew it was an answer. I used to dismiss those things as coincidences. I don't do that anymore. I know where my power lies. I like here it says, much has already been said about me receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from God who has all knowledge and power. I've told you that. I've told you much. If I have carefully followed the directions, I have begun to sense the flow of his spirit into me. It is imperative that God is into me at this point. In the third step, in 6 and 7, I have a graceful exterior God. In the 11th step, I start to feel it flow into me. And I know that God is, as my meditation said this morning, I am with you, I am you. A very good friend of mine, Kurt, says that he doesn't like the term self-will. He likes the term truest self and false self. That our truest self is that of a God image, the image of God. The false self is the one that makes all the trouble. But my truest self is made in the image of God. My truest self is the image of God, and it is God co-creating, manifesting into this world. We never regarded ourselves as intelligent agents, spearheads of God's ever-advancing creation. I thought I was the beginning and end of it. Rather vain of me, isn't it? That is one of my favorite passages in the book. So what I feel now, what I comprehend is that I am an intelligent agent. And if I am tuned in enough through prayer, through meditation, through silent sits, through awareness, through what it talks about, open-mindedness, do I have enough open-mindedness and willingness to listen? All my answers are given. So I have a medical experience right now and I have doctors and people and everything, and car limitations, and travel possibilities, that a host of exteriors is what I'm telling you that could inform my experience. I trust God. I rely on God, because God has proven to me from my own experiences I can draw from, has not failed me, has always brought me further, yet closer, drawed me closer to God, to the point where I now know that God is within me. And I don't feel that that's an arrogant statement. I feel that there's a tremendous amount of humility associated with that, that I have to, every day is a day when I must carry the vision of God's will into all my activities. How can I best serve God? God's will, not mine, be done. And most importantly, because I'm triple double A, whatever, I can exercise my power along this line all I wish to. It's the proper use of all the will that I do have. I hope I have, in some small way, been able to articulate to you my gratitude to Alcoholics Anonymous, my gratitude to you people as individuals and as a group, and my gratitude to this book. I mean, my God, and my gratitude to the God that lives within me. I pray each and every one of you finds just a small bit of what I've felt within the past 24 hours. Thank you.